Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a public speaking class. And today we are going to learn about how to organize our speech text. And before we discuss about our organization speech text, let's start our lesson by reciting Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And then before we discuss more about what are the organization speech text, let she some speech. The first is speech from Mariana Pascal, and the second one is from Parnell. Yeah.
So for the past 20 years, I've been helping Malaysians and other Southeast Asians to speak better English. And through training thousands of Southeast Asians, I've discovered a very surprising truth. I've discovered that how well somebody communicates in English actually has very little to do with their English level. It has a lot to do with their attitude towards English. There are people out there who have a very, very low level of English and they can communicate very, very well. One of them that I remember was a student, a participant of mine named Faisal. He was a factory supervisor. English level very, very low. But this guy could just sit and listen to anybody very calmly, clearly, and then he could respond, absolutely express his thoughts beautifully at a very low level of English. So today I want to share with you what is so different about people like Faisal. How do they do it? And second of all, why is this so important, not only to you, but to your children, to your community, and to the future of Malaysia? And third of all, what's one thing you can do starting today if you want to speak with that calm, clear confidence that people like Faisal has? So first of all, what is so different? How do people like Faisal do it? So to answer that question, I'm going to take you back about 10 years, okay? So I was training staff at that time, and my daughter at that time was taking piano lessons. And I started to notice two really strong similarities between my daughter's attitude or thinking towards playing the piano and a lot of Malaysians' thinking or attitude towards English. Now, first of all, I should tell you, my daughter absolutely hated piano, hated the lessons, hated practicing. This is my daughter practicing piano, okay? This is as good as it got. This is the real thing. And she dreaded going to piano lessons because to my daughter, going to piano lessons, she was filled with this sort of dread because it was all about not screwing up, right? Because like for a lot of piano students, to both my daughter and her teacher, her success in piano was measured by how few mistakes she made. Now, at the same time, I noticed that a lot of Malaysians went into English conversations with the same sort of feeling of dread, this sort of feeling that they were going to be judged by how many mistakes they were going to make and whether or not they were going to screw up. They're just disgusting places. This guy, in this, there was no shine. Faisal entirely of somebody who speaks English like they're playing piano and someone who speaks English like they're playing a computer game. And this is a true story. Happened to me. A while ago, I was in a pharmacy. I had to buy Omega. My doctor said I should get Omega. And I go to the shelf, there's tons of Omega. There's Omega that's high in DHA, Omega that's high in EPA. I don't know which one to buy. Now, the sales rep happened to be there, and I saw she was like this well-dressed professional woman. I walk over to her, and I see this look as she sees me, this sort of, it's a look I recognize very well. Her eyes go all wide. It's sort of that panic, oh my God, I gotta speak to a native speaker, and she's gonna judge me and notice my mistakes. I go up to her, and I explain my situation, which Omega do I get? And she starts explaining to me everything about DHA and EPA you could possibly imagine. She speaks very quickly, goes all around in circles, and when she finishes, no idea what to buy. Right? So I turned to the girl behind the counter. Now, the girl behind the counter, I heard her before, her English level is very low. But when I walk over to her, this girl, there's no fear. In fact, she's just looking at me. You know that look? Like, yeah, okay, so how? Yeah, I've been in Malaysia a long time. So I go up to her and I explain the problem, EPA, DHA. She looks at me, she says, okay, EPA for heart, DHA for brain. Your heart okay or not? So I said, yeah, I said my heart is really, I think it's pretty good. She says, your brain okay or not? I said, yeah, no, no, my brain is not as good as it used to be. She looked, she said, okay lah, you take omega DHA, can? Problem solved, right? So we've got two different kinds of communicators. We've got the one who's got a high level, but totally focused on herself and getting it right, and therefore very ineffective. We've got another one, low level, totally focused on the person she's talking to and getting a result, effective. And therein lies the difference. Now, why is this distinction so important, not just to you, to your children, but to the future of Malaysia and countries like Malaysia? And to answer that, 6% of those conversations involved non-native English speakers. Only 4% of those conversations are native speaker to native speaker. This is not my native English speakers. Only 4% are real engineers from all. In the real world, what would matter is, did you understand the email or did you understand your customer so that you can go ahead and take action? Now, the problem that I see here over and over is that people take the attitude they developed about English in school and they bring it into their adult life and into their work. And if you're in a stressful situation and you're having a conversation and you're trying to give a result to someone and say it correctly, your brain multitasks. It cannot do two things at once. And what I see is the brain just shutting down. And you may recognize these three symptoms of the brain shutting down. The first one is that your listening goes. Someone's talking to you and you're so busy thinking about how you're going to respond and express yourself correctly, you don't actually hear what the other person said. And I can see a lot of nodding in the audience. The second thing to go is your speaking. Your mind sort of shuts down and that vocabulary you do know just disappears and the words don't come out. The third thing to go is your confidence. And the worst thing about this is you may only be confident because you cannot express yourself clearly, but to the person talking to you, they may misunderstand this as a lack of confidence in your ability to do the job, to perform. So if you want to speak English like Faisal with that great confidence, here's the one thing that you can do. When you speak, don't focus on yourself. Focus on the other person and the result you want to achieve. Imagine a next generation of Malaysians, all with that wonderful confidence in communication that Faisal has at any level of English. Because let's remember that English today, it's not an art to be mastered. It's just a tool to use to get a result. And that tool belongs to you. Thank you.
Oke, jadi itu adalah speech dari Marina Pascal sebelum Miss evaluasi. Mari kita lihat the second speaker is Billy Parnell talking about social media.
you like. Nice. Welcome to the internal monologue of a typical social media scroll. A monologue that so many of us have every day, but we don't think about. We don't talk about it. In fact, many of us can't even recognize it happening. I'm Bailey Parnell, and I'm going to talk to you about the unintended consequences social media is having on your mental health. I'm going to show you what's stressing you out every day, what it's doing to you, and how you can craft a better experience for yourself online. Now, just over a year ago, my sister and I took a 4-day vacation to Jasper, Alberta. This was the first no-work vacation I had taken in 4 years. On this vacation, I was going dark. I was turning on airplane mode, no email, and no social media. Now, the first day I was there, I was still experiencing phantom vibration syndrome. That's where you think your phone went off and you check and it didn't. I was checking incessantly. I was distracted in conversation. I was seeing these gorgeous sights Jasper had to offer, and my first reaction was to take out my phone and post it on social. But of course, it wasn't there. The second day was a little bit easier. And you might be thinking I'm ridiculous, but I hadn't been completely disconnected over 4 years. This was practically a new experience again. It wasn't until the 4th day I was there that I was finally comfortable without my phone. I was sitting with my sister, literally on the side of this mountain, when I started thinking to myself, what is social media doing to me? What is it doing to my peers? That was only 4 days, and it was anxiety-inducing, it was stressful, and it resulted in withdrawals. That's when I started to ask questions and have since started my master's research into this subject. You see, I've worked in social marketing, primarily in higher education, for most of my career. That means I work with a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds, which also happens to be the most active demographic on social media. The other thing you need to know about me is that I'm young enough to have grown up with social media, but just old enough to be able to critically engage with it in a way that 12-year-old me probably couldn't. So my life is social media, personally, professionally, and academically. And if it was doing this to me, what was it doing to everyone else? Well, I immediately found out I wasn't alone. The Center for Collegiate Mental Health found that the top 3 diagnoses on university campuses are anxiety, depression, and stress. And numerous studies from the US, Canada, the UK, you name it, have linked this high social media use with these high levels of anxiety and depression. But the scary thing is that high social media use is almost everyone I know. It's my friends, it's my family, my colleagues. 90% of 18 to 29-year-olds are on social media. We spend on average 2 hours a day there. We don't even eat for 2 hours a day. 70% of the Canadian population is on social media. Our voter turnout isn't even 70%. Anything we do this often is worthy of critical observation. Anything we spend this much time doing has lasting effects on us. So let me introduce you to 4 of the most common stressors on social media that, if go unchecked, have potential to become full-blown mental health issues. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. Number 1, the highlight reel.
Oke, jadi itu adalah contoh daripada format speech from Marina Pascal yang juga Parnell ya. Mereka punya 2 topik yang berbeda. The first is telling about language and the second is telling about social media. Terdengar tidak tadi videonya, suaranya? Oke, jadi silahkan dipahami terlebih dahulu. Mas sudah share juga websitenya, jadi kalian tinggal buka bisa dianalisa kembali ya. Jadi kenapa videonya dulu yang dimunculkan? Karena ini akan efektif jika sesudah memberikan video, Miss baru explain about materinya. Oke. Let's start our lesson today by reciting Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, today we are going to learn about organizing speech tags. Bagaimana cara mengorganize speech tags ya. Di speech text itu ada 3 bagian. There are 3 parts of speech. The first is introduction. The second one is body of speech, and the third is closing of speech. There are 3 parts. Ada 3 bagian: introductions, body of speech, and closing. So, what we mean by organizing a speech? Organizing speech is present and arranging a speech in a logical order. Intinya adalah kenapa sih kita harus mengorganize atau menyusun speech tag kita itu agar speech tag kita itu rapi dan juga ada logical ordernya ya. So, what are the function of speech organization? Jadi apa fungsi daripada mengorganize speech tags kita? The first, the speaker can establish clear relationship among ideas. Okay, when we have a speech, nah pasti speech kita itu kan ada beberapa ide, bukan hanya dari kita saja, tapi juga kita untuk menguatkan speech kita adanya beberapa supporting material. Supporting material itu tadi yang seperti Farnell dan juga Mariana Pascal lakukan. Dia memberikan presentasi daripada penelitian, ada 70% daripada orang Kanada itu sehari-hari memakai sosial media, begitu kan. Kemudian juga kalau Mariana Pascal bilang ada 96% of those of those conversation is non-native speaker gitu ya. Jadi beberapa ide tersebut bagaimana kita bisa menyatukannya, entah itu dari artikel, entah itu dari dari newspaper, itu kan ada beberapa pendapat to support our topic ya. And then the speaker can boost confidently and improve the ability to deliver a message plainly. Ya, when we have organize our speech tags itu pasti kita ada rasa percaya diri dan juga kita ada kemampuan untuk meningkatkan speech kita supaya speech kita itu message-nya sampai kepada audiens. The audience also enhance credibility and make it easier to understand the message. Yeah, one of the functions of organized speech text juga adalah salah satunya memudahkan kita untuk menyampaikan pesan ya. Jadi pesannya itu mudah dimengerti oleh the audience. And then the audience will more likely pay attention. Of course, when we have such a good presentation of speech, itu pasti penonton juga mudah untuk memperhatikan kita. Penonton juga akan perhatikan kita karena our speech kita well preparations. And the audience will be easy to recall the information after the speech. Setelah itu juga ini yang paling penting ya, gimana caranya supaya penonton itu mengingat apa yang sudah kita sampaikan. Oleh karenanya, we have to organize our speech tags well. And then, okay, I have mentioned before that we have to organize 3 parts. The first is introduction, body of speech, and closing. And now we are going to discuss about how to organize introduction of speech. Yeah, of course, an introduction is a beginning section which state the purpose and goals of the following writing. Jadi dalam introduction itu adalah giving information about the purpose and the goals and also the topic. Jadi semuanya ada dalam introductions ya. Jadi the objectives dan juga function of introduction itu the first get the attention and interest of your audience. Jadi introduction itu fungsinya juga untuk menarik perhatian penonton. Bagaimana in the first impressions, in the first sentence, in the first statement, we can get audience attentions. We can get the audience interest. Kalau misalnya dari first impression saja sudah tidak menarik, bagaimana mereka mau mendengarkan speech kita atau inti daripada speech kita. That is why one of the objective and the function of the introduction is getting interest and audience attentions. And the second one is reveal the topic of your speech. Yeah, we have to give information that our topic is about blah blah blah. Tadi jelas sekali kalau Farnell bilang kalau misalnya I'm Bell. I'm Belly Farnell, and I'm gonna talk to you about the unintended consequence social media is having on your mental health ya. Jadi dia introduction terlebih dahulu tuh. Oke, I'm Bailey Farrell and I'm going to talk about this gitu. Jadi we have to give information to the others that we are going to talk about this. Karena apa? Karena uh, topik itu ya harus diberitahu di awal biar orang itu mau ngomongin tentang ini, mau ngomongin tentang ini. Kalau misalnya kita tidak memberitahu topiknya apa in introduction, nanti orang bakal kebingungan gitu. So you have to reveal the topic of your speech. And the next one is establish your credibility and goodwill. Nah ini tadi contohnya di mana sih kalau di Marina Pascal sama Farnell ini establish your credibility itu maksudnya you have to tell you're credible, that you are credible. Maksudnya kamu harus beritahu kepada audiens kalau memangnya kamu itu mampu loh di bidang topik yang kamu sampaikan. Misalnya kalau tadi contohnya dari Farnell bilang kalau misalnya, oke, kalau misalnya dia itu memang ahli dalam bidang sosial media ya. He told that, and I have since start my master research into this subject, kata gitu. Pertama dia ngasih tahu dulu kalau misalnya master research dia itu memang tentang sosial media. I've worked in social marketing primarily in higher education for most of my career. That means I work with a lot of 18 to 24 years old. Jadi dia juga memang sudah bekerja di ruang lingkup sosial media itu sejak dia usia dari 18 sampai 24. Jadi memang dia sudah bergelut di dunia sosial media. Dan yang Miss suka dari Parnell itu dia menegaskan ya, she emphasized that the other thing you need to know more about me, I'm young enough to have grown up with social media. My life is social media, personally, professionally, and academically. Itu membuat kalian yakin gak sih kalau misalnya emang Farrell itu uh, speech about social media, uh, dan memang dia ahli di bagian sosial media, bukan hanya karena dia bekerja di bagian sosial media ataupun research tentang sosial media, tapi memang dari kecil sudah bergelut dengan sosial media. Jadi ya, in introduction salah satu objektifnya adalah to establish our credibility. We have to give informations supaya apa? Supaya orang tuh percaya kalau misalnya memang iya, saya percaya loh memang kamu sudah berpengalaman kan dalam topik itu begitu. Jadi you have to establish your credibility. And the next one is review the body of speech ya. Jadi review of body speech itu adalah giving information what points that you want to deliver. Jadi review of body of speech itu adalah kamu harus ngasih tahu poin-poin apa saja yang akan dipaparkan di body of speech. Kalau kayak tadi Mariana Pascal bilang dengan getting attention-nya itu dengan pertanyaan ya Mariana Pascal. Jadi dia mau menyampaikan what is so different about people like Faisal. Kemudian juga how do they eat? Jadi bagaimana cara melakukannya, dan secondly why is it important gitu kan. And the next one is what's one thing you can do starting today. Nah itu adalah beberapa yang akan dibahas oleh Mariana Pascal. Kalau misalnya di Farnell, nah tadi dia bilang katanya, so let me introduce you to 4 common stressors on social media ya. 4 common stressors ya. Jadi the first is highlight reel, and the second is social currency, and the third is fear of missing out, and the fourth is online harassment. Jadi memang harus di review dulu apa yang akan kalian sampaikan di body of speech kalian ya. Apakah ada 3 poin, apakah ada 5 poin, apakah ada 4 poin, you have to tell first what points that you want to deliver in your body of speech. Oke, jadi itu adalah the objectives atau the function of introduction. Jadi harus ada getting attention, harus reveal the topic, harus establish our credibility, dan juga harus review the body of speech. So there are many types of getting attentions and interest of audience. Jadi ada beberapa cara untuk mendapatkan audience attention and audience interest ya. The first is relate the topic to the audience. Jadi Miss langsung saja ya. Ya, relate the topic to the audience. Relate to the topic to audience ini maksudnya bagaimana kita membuat sebuah topik, speech topik kita sesuai dengan audiens ya. Kan kadang kalau kita speech, kalau misalnya topiknya tidak sesuai kan kita malas mendengar. Nah, how we gonna make our speech which relate to our audience. Salah satunya we have to know first who are the audience. Kita harus tahu dulu audience kita siapa. For example, I'm from English department, I'm an education person. Jadi pasti penontonnya juga orang-orang pendidikan. Kalau misalnya kalian itu seorang dokter, pasti penontonnya juga di bidang kesehatan. We have to relate one each another, entah di speaker ataupun di audiensnya. Kalau misalnya di sini lihat, today I'm going to talk about dreams. Kalau dreams mungkin tidak memandang karirnya ya, atau tidak memandang siapa, everyone will dream. Pasti semua orang pernah bermimpi gitu kan. And then the second thing that can get the audience attention adalah state the importance of your speech ya. You have to state what is the importance of your speech. Apa sih pentingnya daripada speech kamu? Kamu harus reveal itu di introductions ya. Coba kita lihat contohnya. Climate change is moving much faster than we are. Atmospheric levels of carbon dioxide are higher than they have been for 800,000 years. The past 5 years have been the hottest period on record. Nah ini emphasizingnya sih according to me ya, menurut Miss, we are in a war for the very existence of life on our planet as we know it. Jadi kita ini sekarang lagi berperang loh gitu, karena benar-benar kalau climate change itu is moving much faster gitu. So we are in a war for the very existence of life on our planet as we know it. Ya, jadi harus ada emphasizing kenapa sih your speech is important. Misalnya, for example, do you want to speak about COVID-19 transmissions? Kamu paparkan dulu apa itu COVID-19 gitu ya. Kamu ada emphasizing setelah itu. Kenapa kita harus berbicara masalah COVID-19? Because there are many people dies gitu kan. Jadi and now we are at the end of our at the end of our life misalnya kayak gitu ya. That's just for example ya. Itu adalah contoh daripada state the importance of your speech gitu. And then the next one is arouse the curiosity of the audience. Kita juga harus membuat penonton penasaran atau bertanya-tanya ya. Jadi kita paparkan dulu statement yang membuat penonton itu curious ya, membuat penonton itu penasaran atau bertanya-tanya. Let's see the example. This past month, more than 1 billion people around the world skip lunch every day. They eat no food of any kind and drink no liquid of any kind from sunup to sunset ya. They did this every day during the month and they do the same thing every year. I myself did it. Jadi kalau mungkin Muslim tahu ya, tapi kalau misalnya non Muslim itu bingung kenapa sih itu nggak makan selama 1 bulan, makannya cuman habis maghrib, kemudian juga mereka mengulanginya selama 1 tahun tuh every year is always repeated gitu ya. Why? Nah setelah kalian membuat penonton itu bertanya-tanya, oh apa ya itu misalnya. Last month was the time for attending to the mind, the body, and the spirit. Last month was the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. Jadi setelah kita paparkan statement yang membuat penonton itu bertanya-tanya, baru kita reveal the topiknya. Oh, ternyata mau berbicara masalah tentang Ramadan atau Muslim Holy Month gitu ya. Oke, itu adalah beberapa strategi to gain the audience attentions. The next one is question the audience. Nah, coba apa yang kalian lihat tadi dari Marina Pascal dan juga Farnell. Ya, tadi mereka memberikan contoh getting attention-nya dengan questions, dengan memberikan pertanyaan. Kalian bisa repeat nanti karena Miss sudah kasih websitenya ya, alamat websitenya atau YouTube channelnya. Jadi silahkan dibuka saja. Cuman Miss mau review tadi kalau misalnya Marina Pascal itu getting attention-nya itu dengan questions ya. Contohnya, how is so different about people like Faisal? How do they do it? Udah gitu, uh, Nah, jadi Maria Pascal itu getting attention-nya pakai questions ya, seperti di sini contohnya. Have you ever felt stressed out about essay or exam? Do you have trouble sleeping, especially when those big projects come due? Would you like to be healthier and happy at home, at school, at work? Nah, itu bisa. Jadi setelah kalian memaparkan pertanyaan itu, bisa tuh dipaparkan juga, baru masuk ke reveal topik. Oh, ternyata topiknya tentang ini. Atau juga bikin with quotations ya, misalnya kalian mau membuat sebuah topik yang sesuai dengan quote, misalnya quote dari Umar bin Khattab atau Ali bin Abi Thalib, atau misal quote dari Albert Einstein atau quote dari siapa. Kalau misalnya bisa juga pakai proverb ya, dari Arab, kayak misalnya kulil haqqo walau kana muran, begitu ya. Ya, begitu ya. You can begin your speech introduction by starting quote, dan juga bisa pakai use visual aids ya, juga bisa pakai picture. Nah, tadi kalau Farnell, nah dia banyak menunjukkan picture ya, dari itu picture saat dia vacations ya. Kalau kalau Farnell itu not only using visual aid, tapi dia juga pakai, nah ini dia, tell a story ya. Nah, tell a story-nya itu tadi di mana saat Farnell mengungkapkan story-nya. Dia mengungkapkan story-nya itu di menit pertama ya, kayak just over a year ago I with my friends go to vacations. Nah, itu jadi ada keterlibatan antara story dia dengan topik yang akan dia sampaikan, begitu. Jadi itu the real example of how we make our introduction ya. Nanti kalian bisa lihat lagi di Marina Pascal dan juga Parnell, how they gear their audience attentions, how they establish their credibility gitu. Dan juga how they review their body of speech ya. Nah, ini to establish credibility and goodwill. Credibility is mostly the matter of being qualified to speak on a given topic. Jadi jelas ya, kalau credibility itu adalah sesuatu yang uh, sesuatu yang memang kita ahli di bidang itu, di bidang tersebut. Jadi kita harus kasih tahu penonton kalau memang we are credible on this topic gitu ya. And then once consider something that grandmas did while walking on the front porch, knitting has become more and more popular among our generation, and bla bla bla. Jadi di atas dipaparkan terlebih dahulu kalau misalnya memang mau berbicara tentang topik knitting ya. Nah, di second paragraph ini namanya credibility atau establish credibility. I start knitting when I was 10 years old. And I've been doing it ever since. I now sell knit patterns on my own website and on Etsy and Pinterest on weekends. Ya. Jadi di paragraf kedua itu dijelaskan kalau misalnya saya sudah bekerja loh di sini selama 10 tahun, atau saya sudah bergelut di dunia knitting ketika saya berusia 10, kemudian juga saya sekarang nih menjual beberapa pattern di website dan juga di Pinterest. Jadi saya juga participate in trunk shows, expos gitu. Nah, jadi harus dikasih tahu dahulu audiensnya kalau memang kalian itu bekerja di situ, berkecimpung di situ, memang sudah lama bergelut di situ, jadi tahu banyak tentang topik yang akan kalian sampaikan. Jadi setelah kalian establish credibility, baru tuh bilang, using some of my experience, today I will explain a bit about the process of knitting and why is it so beneficial. Jadi setelah itu baru reveal topiknya apa, begitu. Mudah ya, bisalah kalian. Tapi kalau misalnya tadi contoh daripada Farnell itu apa? Contoh daripada Farnell. Contoh daripada Farnell itu di menit kedua kalau nggak salah ya, dia bilang I have seen start my master research into this subject. I work in social marketing, primarily in higher education for most of my career. Ya, terus yang emphasizing laginya, the other thing you need to know more about me, I'm young enough to have grown up with social media. My life is social media, personally, professionally, and academically. Nah, itu jelas banget, pasti orang bakal percaya sama Farnell mau berbicara mengenai sosial media karena memang dari kecil kerjanya di situ, researchnya juga tentang sosial media. So you have to establish your credibility ya. And nanti bisa di repeat ya. Ini Marina Falco dan juga Farnell. Nah, ini juga review body of speech. Jadi ada dua types ya. Actually there are many ways, tapi di sini Miss kasih dua aja contohnya. Jadi review the body of speech itu identifies the main points to be discussed in the body. Jadi kita mengidentifikasi atau kita telling poin-poin yang akan kita ceritakan di body of speech. For example, contohnya, I've been fascinated by the Statue of Liberty ever since I was a kid, but I never knew just how amazing it is until I researched it for this speech. This morning, I'd like to tell you a bit about its symbolism, its history, and its architecture. Coba Miss mau tanya, menurut kalian ini mau ngomongin masalah patung Liberty kan? Yang mau dibicarakan mengenai patung Liberty-nya apanya? Patung Liberty aja kan itu masih general ya, apanya sih yang mau dibicarakan? Nah, di sini speakernya bilang kalau dia mau telling about symbolism, its history, and its architecture. Jadi ada 3 poin yang akan dijelaskan di speech-nya. Ya, simbolnya, historinya, dan juga arsitekturnya. So, this is one way to review your body of speech. Kita harus kasih tahu dulu poin apa yang akan kita jelaskan. Kalau tidak, orang mungkin akan kebingungan. Jadi, speech-nya jadi tidak flow, ya tidak smooth juga begitu. Itu cara yang pertama. And the second example is, ini kalau second example ini langsung kayaknya ya. Today, I'd like to focus on 3 interrelated issues. The picture of conflict and the implication for the army, how best to institutionalize the diverse capabilities that will be required, and the kind of officer the army will need for the 21st century. Jadi kalau ini tuh langsung ya, jadi ada 3 hal yang akan jelaskan. The first, nggak disebutin juga the firstnya ya, the future and conflict, jadi langsung ke poinnya, langsung ke temanya begitu ya. You have to mention some points that you want to tell in your body of speech ya, in introductions. Oke, jadi itu adalah cara mempreview body of speech. Yang pertama, ceritakan dulu tema besarnya, yang selanjutnya baru disebutkan poin-poinnya. Kalau yang di contoh yang kedua ini langsung disebutkan ya poin-poinnya. Nah, tadi telah kita discuss bersama tentang how we organize our introductions ya. The first, we have to getting attention. Kita harus buka statement supaya penonton itu tertarik atau pay attention. Kedua establish our credibility ya. Kita harus juga kasih informasi kalau memang kita credible di topik kita. Dan ketiga Dan ketiga itu adalah preview body of speech ya. Jadi we have to preview our body of speech. Itu harus ada dalam introductions ya. When we want to organize our introduction, 3 hal itu harus ada. Nah, selanjutnya we are going to talk about how organize body of speech ya. Ini baru masuk ke body of speech. Jadi bagaimana nih kita mau mengorganize body of speech? Organizing body of speech itu adalah process of organizing body of speech which begins with determining the main points. Jadi kalau misalnya kita mau organize body of speech itu dimulainya dari determining main points. Main pointsnya apa saja nih yang akan disampaikan? Karena the main points are the central features of your speech. Jadi main point itu memang sentral daripada speech kita, inti atau daging daripada pidato kita ya. Jadi apa saja sih bagian daripada body of speech itu? The first is main points, the second one is supporting material, and the third is connective. Jadi ada 3 main points, supporting material, dan juga connective. Let's see. Okay, this is the example of outlining Ya, ini adalah contoh daripada outline speech text ya. Jadi speech text itu biasanya kita sudah mempelajarinya kan tentang specific purpose. Kita tulis dulu specific purpose-nya. To inform my audience about some of the major use of hypnosis. Oh, jadi ini membicara masalah penggunaan hypnosis ya. Major use of hypnosis. Nah, di central ID-nya kita tuliskan lagi lebih spesifik. Major use-nya itu ada berapa sih yang disampaikan? Oh, ternyata ada three major use of hypnosis ya. Jadi ada 3 kegunaan daripada hypnosis. Jadi yang pertama, to control pain in surgery, to help people stop smoking, and to help students improve their academic performance. Jadi ada 3 yang akan dibahas daripada use of hypnosis. Dari central idea itu yang sudah dispesifikasikan, nah baru kita telling detail di main points. Jadi main points itu telling detail dari apa yang akan kita sampaikan. Tadi yang pertama, to control pain in surgery. Pasti di main point pertama akan berbicara mengenai is used in surgery ya. Kemudian hypnosis yang kedua yaitu hypnosis is used to help people stop smoking ya, sama kayak central ID nomor 2 ini. Is used to help people stop smoking. Dan yang ketiga adalah to help students improve their academic performance. Nah, di main points yang ketiga juga sama, hypnosis is used to help students improve their academic performance. Jadi, ketika kita buat outline speech, ketika kita mengorganize speech text kita, itu speech text kita itu akan mudah dipahami karena memang sudah rapi, sudah runtun, sudah terorganisir gitu kan dengan baik. That's the function of organizing speech text ya. And then Oke, langsung aja ke supporting materials ya. Oke, support sama aja contohnya ini di atas sama ini. Jadi Miss mau kasih example yang ini aja. Oke, after we forward main points, setelah kita menentukan main points-nya apa ya. Kan tadi main points-nya ini ya. Main point pertama, hypnosis is used in surgery as adjunct to chemical anesthesia. Hypnosis is used to help people stop smoking, sama hypnosis is used to help students improve their academic performance. Itu ada 3 main points yang akan dijelaskan. Kemudian dalam setiap main points kita harus memberikan supporting material ya. Apa sih supporting material? Supporting materials are the material used to support the speaker ideas ya. Jadi supporting materials itu adalah materi-materi teori-teori yang bisa mensupport speech kita ya. Nah, ada 3 nih. Yang pertama example, statistic, and testimony. Biasanya untuk support our material itu using example, using statistic, dan juga using testimony gitu. Jadi kita lihat contohnya. Let's see the example. Number 1, tadi main point yang pertama adalah hypnosis is used in surgery. Nah, hypnosis used in surgery ini kan main point. Kemudian kenapa sih Miss kok ada AB-nya, ada 1-2-nya? Nah, AB ini adalah sub main points. Kemudian yang 1-2 itu apanya? Kalau 1-2 itu adalah sub main points ya. Kita sudah belajar tentang ini di outlining ya. Oke, jadi ini main poinnya biasanya ditulis dengan Romawi ya, angka Romawi. Kemudian ini capital letters itu sub main points, dan number ini yang huruf kecil-kecil biasanya sub main points. Nah, jadi ini main pointsnya hypnosis is used in surgery. Kemudian juga sub main pointsnya ada 2, hypnosis reduce both ya the physical and psychological, sama hypnosis is most useful in case when the patient is known to have problem with general anesthesia. Nah, lalu kalau kalian mau percaya kata siapa sih hypnosis itu useful in cases when the patient is known gitu kan. Kalian gak bakal percaya begitu aja kalau misalnya belum ada supporting material. Supporting material itu artinya teori pendukung ya. Oke, jadi the first quotation from Dr. Harold gitu ya. Quotationnya adalah, for example, Dr. Harold said that hypnosis is most useful because patient is blah 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 gitu. And then story of Linda Quay. Story of Linda Quay itu masuknya ke testimoni ya. Jadi orang bakalan percaya kalau misalnya memang ada testimoni dari orang yang pernah mengalaminya. Nah, kalau Miss gak salah, we have discuss about testimony ya. Testimoni itu ada dua, ada peer testimony, ada expert testimony. Kalau peer testimony itu adalah testimoni yang dari orang biasa, kalau expert itu dari ahlinya. Kalau orang biasa itu hanya mengalami saja, misalnya apa yang kamu rasakan selama apa sekolah di kampus Latansa begitu kan. Nah, itu peer testimoni orang yang mengalaminya. Kalau expert kan kayak Albert Einstein, kemudian juga siapa yang expert di Indonesia? Hairil Anwar gitu kan ya, yang expert di bidang PUMS, kemudian juga kayak Najwa Shihab bidang di jurnalistik gitu kan. Nah, itu orang-orang expert. Nah, ini ada story dari Linda Quay gitu kan. Oh, ternyata begitu ya. Oke, saya percaya soalnya ada story-nya nih, ada testimoninya gitu. And then ada statistik from Psychology Today. Nah, juga ada statistiknya atau presentasinya terlihat ternyata 70% hypnosis is most useful in case when bla bla bla, itu statistik dari Psychology Today, dari artikel Psychology Today gitu. Jadi orang bakal percaya nggak sih sama speech kamu kalau misalnya emang sudah ada testimoninya, sudah ada example-nya, dan juga sudah ada statistiknya atau research-nya yang berbicara mengenai itu. Pasti dong percaya ya. Jadi itu adalah supporting material to support your topic, to support your material. Jadi sama ya, setiap main point itu harus ada supporting materialnya. Supaya apa? Supaya every main point is credible or believable gitu ya, bisa dipercaya. Nah, ini main point pertama, main point kedua, main point ketiga. Setiap main pointnya ada supporting materialnya. Kalau di main points yang kedua ini ada the US Department of Health and Human Service considers, nah ini malah dari yang lebih ini lagi ya, lebih wow lagi. And then juga ada story of Alex Hamilton gitu kan. Kemudian ada quotation from New York psychiatrist Dr. Herbert. Nah, itu harus disebutkan quote-nya dari siapa, kemudian juga presentasinya kamu dapat dari artikel mana, dapat dari research dari mana. So you have to mention in your supporting material to emphasize dan juga to strengthen your speech gitu. Jadi untuk menguatkan speech kamu. Kalau misalnya cuma opini kita atau pendapat kita, gimana orang mau percaya sama speech kita ya. Samanya kayak preacher ya, para penceramah itu kan biasanya ngambil kutipan dari Al-Quran, kemudian juga dari hadis. Kalau cuma opini daripada preachernya, kira-kira kamu percaya nggak? Cuman pendapat dari dia aja gitu kan, penceramahnya aja tanpa mengquote dari Al-Quran, tanpa quote dari hadis gitu, percaya nggak? Nggak kan? Ketika ada quote dari Al-Quran, nah itu langsung percaya. Quran surat Al-Baqarah ayat 125 gitu kan, ya Allah langsung percaya gitu ya. Ya memang kadang kita butuh bukti, apalagi untuk speech ya. And then, nah ini ada beberapa strategi to order main points ya. Main points kan adanya di body of speech. Jadi ketika kalian mau buat speech itu harus ada strategi main points-nya. Strategi to order main points ya. The first is chronological order. Jadi main points itu bisa di arrange dengan chronological order ya. Chronological order itu adalah strategi which focus on time pattern. Jadi ada urutan waktu ya. Contohnya, to inform my audience of the steps. Steps kan pasti berurutan ya. Langkah-langkah in laser access corrective eye surgery. Nah, kemudian ada berapa step sih? Nah, di Central ID disebutkan there are three steps. There are three main steps in laser access corrective eye surgery. The first, bla bla bla. The second, bla bla bla. The third, bla bla bla. Nah, kalau misalnya kalian mau menggunakan chronological order ini, for example, you are telling about apa? COVID-19 transmissions ya. Oke. There are three main reason why COVID-19 should be abolished from Indonesia and from the earth gitu ya. The first, COVID-19 is bla bla bla. The second, COVID-19 is bla bla bla. The third, the next. Nah itu. So you have, jadi logic ordernya lebih enak didengar, lebih tersusun, jadi lebih rapi ya. Kalau tidak ada using strategy order kan berantakan speech-nya ya. Itu dia chronological order, and now is spatial order. Spatial order itu hampir sama kayak chronological order, no, tapi dia lebih ke directional pattern ya. Dia tidak disebutin the first, the second, the third, dia cuman spatial aja, topiknya beda-beda di situ ya di main points-nya. Okay, let's see. To inform our audience about the three major regions in Italy ya. Jadi di sini disebutkan langsung di specific purpose ada three major regions. Ada 3 bagian di Italy. Langsung disebutkan 3 bagiannya apa? Northern, Central, and Southern ya. Nah, pastinya di main points-nya disebutkan Northern Italy home to Venice. Kemudian yang kedua Central Italy home, Southern Italy is home. Nah, sebenarnya mereka tiap main pointsnya berbicara sesuatu hal yang berbeda ya, Northern, Central, sama Southern. Tapi itu dalam satu kesatuan yaitu regions in Italy begitu. Jadi special order ini bisa dipakai. Kemudian juga ada causal order. Causal order itu adalah strategi to arrange your main points dengan mengedepankan cause and effect relationship ya. Jadi biasanya di the first main point itu telling about causes and the second one is effect. Nah misalnya kalau misalnya kalian mau berbicara mengenai COVID-19 transmissions itu bisa the first main pointnya the causes of the COVID-19 transmission penyebab daripada COVID-19 transmission itu apa aja. Kemudian juga the second topic you will tell about the effect, apa sih efek dari COVID-19 transmission ini. Nah, jadi begitu ya. Di sini contohnya to persuade my audience that a growing shortage of nurses is serious problem across the United States. Nah, jadi di sini disebutkan dulu problemnya di main point pertama. The United States faces a growing shortage of trained nurses in all parts of the country. Jadi growing shortage of nurses itu adalah serious problem ya kan di main poin pertama. Kemudian di poin keduanya, jika ini terus berlanjut karena this shortage continues, it will strain the entire healthcare system. Itu akan strain the entire healthcare system. Jadi ini adalah akibatnya. Jadi kalau misalnya causal order itu sebab akibat itu ya. Atau misalnya kalian mau problem solutions order ya. Problem solution order itu adalah order yang telling main points-nya itu the first main point itu deals with a problem, the second main point present solutions ya. Jadi mari kita lihat contohnya. The specific purpose-nya to persuade my audience that action is needed to combat the abuse of puppy mills ya. Langsung kita lihat main points-nya. Sorry. Puppy mills are a serious problems across the United States. Jadi dikasih tahu dulu problemnya. Kemudian selanjutnya di main points kedua atau paragraf yang kedua, solving the problem requires legislation and individual initiative. Jadi problemnya dipaparkan di paragraf pertama, solusinya dipaparkan di paragraf kedua. Jadi speech-nya akan lebih mudah kalau misalnya kalian pakai beberapa strategi order ini. Tinggal pilih saja mau pakai yang mana dan sesuaikan dengan topik kalian gitu ya. And then the other thing in organizing speech tech juga ada yang namanya connectives. Jadi ini ada di body of speech ya. Connectives itu adalah penghubung antara main one and the next main point gitu kan. Dalam body of speech kan kita ada paragraf 1, paragraf kedua. Paragraf 1 telling about apa, paragraf kedua juga telling about apa. So bagaimana kita bisa mengkonektifkan dua hal tersebut? So how we can connect one in each other? Ya, jadi ada beberapa connectives, di antaranya transitions, internal reviews, internal summaries, and signposts gitu ya. Jadi nanti ada pembahasan khusus sih untuk macam-macam expression atau macam-macam kalimat transition itu gimana kalimatnya, internal previous itu apa aja kalimatnya. Sekarang kita belajar yang ada di example saja dulu ya. Jadi transition are words, phrase that indicate when a speech has just complete one task and is moving to another. Jadi transition itu adalah memberikan informasi kalau misalnya oke, kita udah selesai nih pembahasan pertama, mari kita membahas yang kedua gitu. Mari kita membahas poin yang selanjutnya begitu. Jadi transition itu adalah giving information that you have just complete one talk atau one discussions and then you are going to move gitu. Contohnya ini nih kata-kata yang di garis bawah ya. Now that we have a clear understanding about the problem of COVID-19, and now let me share you about the solution of COVID-19 transmission. Jadi ada moving. Kalau misalnya pakai transition itu perpindahannya smooth gitu. Jadi nggak kaget orang. Oh ternyata di paragraf kedua kita mau ngomongin tentang solutionnya loh. Tadi kita telling about problem. Jadi itu akan lebih mudah dimengerti oleh di audience. Kalau misalnya memang langsung tiba-tiba tanpa ada connective, kita bingung. Ini yang mana problemnya, yang mana solutionnya sih ya. That is why we have to organize our speech tags ya. Oke, itu contoh daripada connective transition. Nanti di bawah ada lagi juga. I have spoken so far about this and now we are going to speak about this. Nah, gitu kan enak banget didengarnya. Jadi, oh iya ya tadi ngomongin tentang manfaat tidur siang gitu kan. Sekarang kita mau ngomongin tentang efek terlalu banyak tidur gitu ya. Oke. Oke, itu adalah connectives ya, transition. Transition itu have to keep in your mind. Ini adalah peralihan dari satu poin ke poin selanjutnya. What about internal previews? Jadi internal previews adalah statement in the body of the speech that lets the audience know what the speaker is going to discuss next. Nah, kalau ini memberikan informasi kepada audiens, oke, kita akan bahas ini gitu. Kalau tadi kan now that we have a clear understanding about this gitu kan. Nah, kalau misalnya internal previews itu kasih tahu, and now we are going to tell about this gitu. Internal previews itu maksudnya telling the audience that we are going to discuss other things gitu ya. Nih, jadi lihat nih. Now that we have seen how serious the problem of faulty credit reports, let's look at some solutions. Nah, ini dia namanya internal reviews. Tadi transition itu oke, kita stop dulu bahas ini. Sekarang kita lanjut bahas ini. Now, we are going to talk about some solution ya, gitu. Jadi internal reviews itu telling to the audience that we are going to discuss about this. Kalau transitions itu we are telling that we have to stop this point gitu ya. Bisa membedakannya kan? Now ke internal summary. Jadi salah satu konektif juga ada namanya internal summary. Apa sih internal summary? Internal summary itu adalah summarize the speaker phrasing points and remind listener of what they have just heard. Oke, jadi ini adalah mensummarize apa yang telah kita bicarakan sebelumnya dan mengingatkan kembali kepada penonton kalau kita sudah membahas ini loh. Misalnya speech-nya ada 5 main points, kan pasti kita lupa ya main point pertama itu apa. Nah di main point keempat sebelum lanjut ke yang kelima itu kita bisa review internal summary. Okay, let's pause for a moment to summarize what we have found so far. First, we have bla bla bla. Second, we have bla bla bla. Gitu. Jadi, oke, sebelum kita lanjut, kita mau review dulu nih apa yang sudah kita bahas sebelumnya. Pertama, kita bahas tentang ini. Kedua, ketiga, dan sekarang, nah itu baru pakai internal reviews lagi. Jadi internal summary itu, you have to remind the listener that what you have already shared, what you have already talked about sebelumnya begitu. And signpost, a signpost is a very brief statement that indicates where a speaker is in the speech or that focus attention on key ideas. Nah, kalau signpost itu is quite easy ya, karena di situ di mention the first causes, the second causes, the final causes itu signpost. Jadi itu juga sama namanya connective ya. Oke. And the next one is organizing closing up speech. Jadi kalau misalnya kita mau closing juga sama. Ini sangat penting dalam closing juga ya, karena dalam closing kita harus menghadirkan kata-kata yang membuat penonton itu ingat apa yang telah kita sampaikan begitu ya. Jadi the first function of closing itu to let the audience know you are ending the speech and to reinforce the audience understanding of or commitment to the central idea. Jadi kamu harus summarize your speech karena kamu juga harus harus reinforce ya di audience kalau memang audience itu paham dan juga mengingat apa yang telah disampaikannya. Jadi kamu harus summarize. Salah satu kata untuk menutup sebuah speech yaitu adalah dengan in conclusion katanya, atau to sum up my speech I would like to tell that COVID-19 transmission is bla 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 bla, atau juga dengan end with quotations, misalnya ada quote yang relate dengan topik kalian, nah kalian bisa bangun lagi dengan quote tersebut. Jadi begitulah cara mengorganize speech text ya. Jadi ada 3, yaitu how we organize our introduction, how we organize our speech of body of speech, and the closing of speech. Jadi kalau misalnya kita mau mengorganize speech introduction, itu harus ada apa? Harus ada get attention and interest, kemudian juga ada establish credibility, dan juga ada preview body of speech. Itu harus ada dalam introductions ya. Kemudian apa aja yang harus ada dalam organizing body of speech? Dalam organizing body of speech itu harus ada main points, ada supporting material, dan juga connective. Lalu apa aja yang harus ada dalam closing? Yaitu adanya summarize atau conclusion, dan juga end with a special statement ya, seperti quotation. Oke, thank you so much for you ya. Jadi semua materi Miss itu adopt dari Lucas E. Steven ya, dan yang lainnya itu supporting juga sama. Ini adalah further reading, silahkan dibuka aja, dicek website yang ada. Kalian bisa lebih paham ketika kalian explore by your own selves ya. You will not understand only learning from me gitu. Let's close by hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.